Welcome to Real Estate IQ Wisdom for Smart Moves. We will explore the insider secrets tailored exclusively for Silicon Valley home buyers, sellers, and investors, arming you to conquer the unique real estate landscape. So, without further ado, let's dive into this exciting conversation. Today, we welcome Larry Stone, the distinguished county assessor of Santa Clara, and a key figure in Silicon Valley. His expertise and innovative leadership have profoundly influenced the region's growth. Thank you to our sponsor, TradeMyHome.com, for their community commitment and for making this podcast possible. In today's episode, we delve into the unique challenges of Silicon Valley's real estate market. Because of soaring home prices exceeding $1.3 million, we're facing some of the highest property taxes in California. Adding to the complexity, intricate tax regulations like Proposition 13 and Proposition 19 and capital gains nuances pose significant challenges. Furthermore, a critical housing shortage with a deficit of over 50,000 homes intensifies competition and drives up prices. Stay tuned as we explore these pressing issues. Our host today, Shared Gupta, is a real estate broker in Silicon Valley and brings a wealth of life and professional experience to his role as a podcast host. The following content is only for informational purposes. Please consult a licensed consultant for your specific situation or if you need any specific legal or tax advice.
Larry, welcome to the show.
Thank you for the invitation.
How does the presence of major tech companies affect real estate trends in Silicon Valley?
Prices of residential real estate in Silicon Valley tend to rise faster during good times to higher levels and fall faster during recessions. So there's a wider gap between success and failure, good times and bad times, with residential real estate in Silicon Valley. Also in Silicon Valley, the stock market has greater impact than interest rates because high-level, high-tech professionals were buying, when interest rates were low until recently, were buying expensive properties, often all cash, not requiring a mortgage, and therefore the interest rates had less impact upon high-tech professionals buying residential real estate than the interest rates themselves because they were paying all cash.
What tips can you offer to the first-time home buyers to navigate this unique real estate market?
The homeowner's exemption is available for principal residents, reducing their assessment by $7,000 per year. That saves the homeowner about $70 in property taxes a year. A small amount, but it's important. We recognize the importance of home ownership, and we also recognize the importance of how difficult it is today for people to become homeowners.
What is Prop 19 and how has it changed property assessments?
Prop 19 has changed property assessments more significantly than anything since Proposition 13. It's a very complex proposition. It really has two component parts were only vaguely related to each other. A little of the history here. In the 1990s, citizens of California passed two propositions, Proposition 60 and Proposition 90. It allowed homeowners with low assessed values, because they've owned the home for a long period of time, to transfer that low assessment to a new home with certain conditions. But Prop 60 allowed you to do it in any county within the county. Prop 90 allowed you to do it outside the county, but it was by county option. So only 10 counties out of 58 elected to allow Proposition 90 transferred into their county. The realtors were very concerned about that limitation, and I was too. You know, if you're trying to get grandma closer to the grandkids, why should she be limited to just 10 counties? Well, the realtors put a measure on the ballot in 2018, I think it was, called Proposition 15. And it allowed universal Prop 90 transfers. In other words, you could transfer your low assessed value if you're over the age of 55, that was the limitation, to any county in the state. The state of California said that would cost $1 billion a year in lost property tax revenue. And of course, the major benefit of property tax revenue are schools.
Right.
So the teachers got together with the labor unions and said, we're going to put this down. They told the realtors who had already qualified Prop 15 for the ballot, if you try to pass this, we'll kill it. The realtors were stuck because they knew that with the schools behind it and labor behind, opposed to it, that it was not going to happen. So it went down. It was on the ballot already, and it went down about 60-40. So the realtors had a problem. How to get their main interest, and that is a universal transfer of ownership, transfer a low assessed value to any county in the state. But they had to find $1 billion worth of lost property tax revenue to offset that. So they then looked at Prop 58, which is, we call it the intergenerational transfer, which allows parents to transfer their principal residence and the low assessed value to their children. Proposition 58 allowed parents to transfer their principal residence and their low assessed value to their child or children. The realtors said that's the source of the revenue to make up for the $1 billion that were lost with the universal Prop 90, which really allowed for the universal transfer of a low assessed value to any county in the state. And to make up for the $1 billion that were lost, they eliminated the ability to transfer your low assessed value to your children, with the exception is your child or children had to live in the property. What was happening is parents were transferring a low assessed value to the children, but the children weren't living there. So they were turning these properties into rental properties, which was taking home ownership opportunities off the market. So a classic example was Lloyd Bridges, an actor of my age, but he had two sons, Bo and Jeff. Lloyd Bridges had two sons, Bo Bridges and Jeff Bridges, both very famous in the Hollywood set. Lloyd Bridges had a home in Malibu on the ocean, with panoramic views of the Pacific Ocean, access to the beach. And he transferred on his death that property to his sons, Bo and Jeff Bridges. They rented the property immediately. They didn't want them to live there. So they were renting it for $16,000 a month, but because they had a very low assessment, they were paying $5,000 a year in property taxes. And so that's where the revenue came from to make up for the revenue lost, universal Prop 90 transfers. That is now being challenged by those folks that would like to have that ability back to transfer your principal residence again to your child or children. They're trying to eliminate the requirement that the child or children live in it. And so theoretically, you could have a home transferred from generation to generation. So maybe in 2050, you may have a property that has a 1975 tax base. And people like me think that that's not fair, that somehow transferring the family home is a good idea to maintain the family home in the family, but not to just turn these properties one after another into rental properties, which really lowers the ability for home ownership. The way you prove that for Prop 19 is that you have to show that it's your principal residence. So a lot of these changes are all based upon the principal residence, and you have to demonstrate that in fact it is your principal residence. Where you get your mail, where you're registered to vote, where you come home at night after work, all of those things have to be established to prove that in fact the property we're talking about being transferred is in fact your principal residence.
What is your vision for the future of real estate in Santa Clara County?
It's all about housing. We will work our way through the commercial ups and downs of Silicon Valley, but if we don't solve the housing problem and do it fairly quickly, we will see a gradual demise of economic activity in Silicon Valley. More housing, more intense housing, more multifamily housing, more variety of housing for different income levels. We've got to maintain a spectrum of housing availability. As I mentioned, from homelessness to very low income to moderate to worker housing, all of those aspects of housing are absolutely essential for our successful future of Silicon Valley. The rest of it will work itself out. But if we don't deal with the housing problem significantly for all income levels, from homelessness to housing for high-tech executives, it'll have a major negative impact upon our future.
What emerging trends do you see or foresee in the real estate markets of Silicon Valley?
Well, I think the property tax is going to be impacted more significantly for a longer period of time is the retail sector. Online retails are growing exponentially faster than brick and mortar stores. And the whole concept of online retailing changes the brick and mortar aspects of shopping centers and things like that. So I think that's going to see the biggest significant change, lasting significant change. And so retailers have to adopt to that. So far, high-end retail malls are doing quite well as we come out of the COVID recession. Low-end malls are not so much. And strip centers in suburban areas are doing better than some of the major malls as people change where they live and where they shop. Again, the transition of people working more remotely, spending more time at home that they don't. So I think strip centers seem to be doing quite well. A French company owns Oak Ridge Malls and Valley Fair. They're the largest owner of malls in the world. Announced last year that they're divesting themselves of all malls in the United States within the next 5 years.
A typical problem homeowners have when wanting to buy a new home is whether to sell first or buy first. Either way is risky. When ready to look for a new home, TradeMyHome.com, powered by Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, offers an upfront guaranteed cash offer on your current home. Are you moving in the next 3 to 6 months? Text PAIR to 408-740-7400 for a free and no-obligation professional equity appraisal report. For more information, visit TradeMyHome.com or call 408-740-7400. Remember, at TradeMyHome.com, your home is sold guaranteed or we'll buy it. For the next episode of Real Estate IQ, featuring Maggie LeBranch, an accomplished associate attorney specializing in estate planning, trust, and probate law.
All right, well, I'm Maggie LeBranch. I'm an attorney. I've been practicing law for about 15 years now.
With her deep expertise and empathetic approach, Maggie guides clients through the intricacies of estate planning, ensuring their real estate assets are well managed and their familial wishes are honored.
Although the firm has been with Santa Clara County for over 40 years. And we
check out our full episode on Tuesdays at 5 o'clock Pacific and 8 o'clock Eastern on YouTube and Apple Podcast.
What has been the most valuable lesson you have learned throughout your real estate career?
Well, I think if you purchase quality real estate or develop quality real estate, maintain it and manage it well, over time is the factor here. Over time, you should be successful. But a lot of things aren't developed well, they're not managed well, they're not constructed well, and that's the kind of property that you see. and of course, leverage. All of the major downturns and recessions we've seen in real estate markets is over-leveraging. The Great Recession was a perfect example of that. People could borrow 100% of the home that they were buying. Well, any economist will tell you that that's impossible to maintain. The S&L debacle in the early 1990s, I was in the business back then, the same thing was happening except with commercial properties. People were over-leveraging, getting appraisals before they bought the property for more money. The property was appraised for more money than they were buying it for. That's a recipe for financial disaster. It happened in the early 1990s. The dot-com bust was kind of related to that, the Great Recession, and now the COVID recession. I've been through, in my career, 4 or 5 major downturns, or what we would call recessions. And it's usually because people are over-leveraging property, or they're not building it right, maintaining it right. But over time, you can generally make money in the real estate markets if you do it the right way.
What is Great California Exodus, and what impact, if any, is it going to have on the real estate market?
Well, I think it's grossly overrated. California's population is declining, but it's not a crisis. It might be a concerning trend. But between 2020 and 2023, 600,000 Californians moved out of the state, and 263,000 new Californians came into the state. That's a net loss of $300,000 population plus. That's less than 1% of our state with 40 million people. What is disturbing about that statistic, however, is that those fleeing the state to Texas, Arizona, places like that, took $29 billion of taxable income with them. That's a 30% reduction in lost revenue and lost income to the state of California. San Jose lost 50,000 residents since 2020, dropping San Jose from the 10th largest city in the country to the 12th largest city in the country. Significant, yes. A crisis, no. There are many reasons why you lose population. Certainly, but it's not just people fleeing to Texas or Arizona, Florida, or wherever. A decrease in births. Significant births are down significantly. California has the lowest birth rate. It's at the birth rate in California is an all-time low. Reduced immigration has significantly impacted California. The rise in deaths, many of them COVID-related. And fewer people simply coming to California than there used to be. Where did the people go that left the state? Well, they went to Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Idaho, Washington, Oregon. And where did these new Californians that I mentioned come from? Well, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Washington, and New York. Mm-hmm. The number 2 in-migration of people into California, number 2 is New York. Mm. So that will tell you something about the strength and the draw of Silicon Valley. So is it a crisis? No. Is it a concerning trend? I think so. Possibly, at least the trend is so. But the demise of Silicon Valley, which has been named the doom loop, mm-hmm. Particularly for offices. Well, the doom loop, I think, is turned into a loop-de-loop. It's simply not something that we ought to be seriously concerned about, but we ought to watch the trend significantly. Only 4 major companies have left California for other states, but their workforce largely hasn't followed. Tesla is still building automobiles in Fremont and leasing buildings here to Tesla in the last year has released 2 300,000 square foot buildings, one in Palo Alto and one in North San Jose. Largely, the loss of companies is because the management wants to live in Texas where they don't have any income tax or things like that. But their employees haven't followed. I think that's a significant indication that this is not a crisis, but maybe a concerning trend.
Thank you so much, Larry, for such a great work and a great discussion today.
Well, thank you. And I want to say that we have an awesome customer service team in the assessor's office. Our objective is to get assessments right. And so we access this, come to the office, our new office, by the way, on Tasman in San Jose, or online, or through all the other mechanisms that we use. Our customer service team is there to assist customers to get things right, and we think we do that fairly well.
Thank you for listening to the podcast and acknowledging the wisdom of smart moves in real estate in Silicon Valley. Please share this episode with a friend, subscribe, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts at Real Estate IQ. Thank you to our sponsor, TradeMyHome.com, for their client commitment and for making this podcast possible. If you're considering buying or selling a home, visit TradeMyHome.com. Until next time, remember to stay ahead in the real estate game.